everybody, welcome back to Cotto Verde. My name's Annette, and in this video today I'm going to show you how I pre-sprout my Ranunculus Corms. I do this so that they get a head start, and also that way I can check which corms are behaving and survived storage, because I only do the pre-sprouting process for corms that I had the previous year. Any corms that I buy this year, I will still soak and treat in exactly the same way, but I won't pre-sprout them, I'll just plant them straight away into cell trays. In the video today, I'm going to talk you through the process that I follow, and then I'm going to show you the results of that process also in this video. So I'll show you what they look like after they've been pre-sprouting for about a week, and I'll show you what I do with them after that, because pre-sprouting is not a one-step process, it's a two-step process. What we mean by pre-sprouting is basically letting your corms start to grow roots and shoots before you've actually planted them. So the first thing I do when I take my corms out of storage is I check them over to make sure they haven't deteriorated. If any have, then I bin those, and the rest of them I put into a large bowl of water, absolutely covered in a good few inches of additional water, and I leave those to soak for 3 to 4 hours. Many people advise running like a pump of air, like a fish tank pump or something through them, or just letting a tap drip into the water so that it's more oxygenated, and that's supposed to help your Ranunculus corms. I'm not saying don't do that, it's just that I don't. So I put all of my corms into water for 3 to 4 hours, and I just give them a swish and leave them there. But you absolutely mustn't over soak your corms. You don't want them to be at all soft or squishy. They should still be firm when you take them out. When they finish soaking, I drain all the water off, and then I have another look, because some of the corms from last year will have doubled or even tripled. So you'll find that corms you can clearly see 3 crowns on them, and if you're lucky you can pull those apart. You could try and do it before you soak them, and sometimes that's easier, but I find that the little corm stalks are quite brittle at that stage, and so they can break off quite easily. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whether you decide you want to try and separate your corms before you soak them or after you soak them. I've tried both, and this time I tried to separate them after I soaked them. Some of them separated well, and as you can see, some of them did not separate well. So once the corms have finished soaking, I then pre-sprout them. So pre-sprouting is the waking up process, whereby you maintain the best environment for your corms to wake up, and you wait for them to start growing roots and shoots. And that's literally what the pre-sprouting means. And the way that I do this is I get a gravel tray, so it's not very deep, and I half fill it with peat-free compost, just multi-purpose compost, any compost you like. It doesn't need to have goodness in it unless you plan to leave them there for a while, which I really don't recommend. So you want to plant them with the octopus tentacles down, and you want to put them in to about half their depth. That's what I do. You could completely submerge them if you want to, but I like to be able to see the roots forming, and then I know that they're ready for the next stage. With this process, my Ranunculus corms only took a week to pre-sprout. I started them on the 7th of February, and they had sprouted by the 14th of February, which is when I then potted them on. So if you don't want to pre-sprout your corms, you really don't have to. You can plant them straight into pots, or as I do, into these 15 cell trays, which seem to fit the corms perfectly. I use the same multi-purpose peat-free compost, and the only difference with pre-sprouting is that in this instance I still plant them octopus tentacles facing down, but I cover them with compost, and then I leave them in the cool and the dark until I see shoots emerging. As soon as I see shoots emerging, I move them into the light, because they need light to photosynthesize. You want to monitor your compost and make sure that it stays damp. You don't want it to dry out, and please don't put them on heat mats, they won't like it at all. And I will cover these with clear plastic lids until I see them sprouting. So once you've filled your tray, you either cover it or don't cover it, but then you want to put it in a cold, dark place. And that doesn't want to be freezing. I leave it in my storeroom, which is about 10 or 11 degrees most of the time, and I don't turn the lights on in there, and that way they've got the cold and the dark, and they'll start pre-sprouting. And as soon as I see roots and shoots, even little ones, I turn the lights on, because the shoots need to photosynthesize, and they can only do that with light. And once I can see that most of them have sprouted, that's when I go to the next stage, which is what I'm going to show you now. I pre-sprouted some Ranunculus in trays like this, all jumbled up together, And now I'm going to put each one on into their own individual cells. And the reason that I know that it's time to do it is because we can see loads of little roots, and some of them have even got leaves on them. The compost I'm using is the same peat-free compost that I always use. It's the Melcourt Silver Grow peat-free compost, recommended by the RHS, and I really like it. And I haven't mixed it with anything, so I haven't mixed it with grit or vermiculite, but you certainly can do that if you want to. Ranunculus don't want to sit in water, so if you're worried that you may overwater them, then you could always put a bit of grit in there and then it'll help it drain. So you make a little hole here. All you're going to do is tease out your Ranunculus corms very gently, being careful not to break all those roots. And then you're just going to pop it in to this tray here. And you can see why I often prefer to sow into these trays in the first place, because it's quite hard to get all those roots in there if you've left them in here too long. But, I mean, this is a good example of why I do it, because some corms just don't come to life, and then you've wasted your cell tray trying to plant something that isn't growing when other ones will grow. So, and I'm just putting it just below the surface of the soil there like that. So I'm going to take out the ones that I can definitely see roots on. So this one I wasn't able to split because it's very complicated underneath, and now I think it's just too big. I'm going to have to plant that one into a 9 centimetre. See, there's another one. So maybe they dried out too much in storage, or maybe they're just taking time, but these have not come to life yet. Oh, there's a good one. You just make a hole and then you gently pop it in and put some soil on top. I think the reason that this tray has less rooted corms is because I let the compost get too dry. Can you see how it's all crumbly? And even though it still feels damp, I just think maybe it wasn't wet enough. And so, instead of binning the corms that didn't root yet, I'm going to bury them slightly deeper and make sure that I keep this tray more moist, because something like this, there's absolutely no reason why it wouldn't have sprouted. I think this is my error. So you live and you learn from mistakes. So I've planted up both of these trays with one corm in each cell, and what I'm going to do is overhead water them now, just to make sure that all the earth settles around the corms properly and there aren't any air gaps. And then I'm going to drain them properly, and I'm going to keep them in the light but not in the warmth. You don't want to put them in a heated greenhouse or anything like that. For now I'm going to keep them in the lights, under the lights in my storeroom. Okay, so what I have here for my bigger corms, where I feel like the roots are going to get too squashed in the 15 cell trays, is I have 9 centimetre pots. I just reuse them every year, and it's got exactly the same compost. It's got the Melcourt Silver Grow compost in it, peat free. And I'm just going to take one of the larger corms and I'm going to dig a wide hole and plop it in, and then just fill it up again. So you can see the level I'm putting it at is where the leaves come out of the corm, and I'm just kind of putting it at level, and I tap it down like that, and I'll water them in to make sure there aren't any air pockets. And I'm just going to carry on doing that for all of these. I've potted up 20 of my really big corms here with amazing root systems, and I'm just going to water these in with the watering can, and then I'm going to put them back in the storeroom where it's nice and cool but not freezing. If you've enjoyed this video, then do subscribe to my channel, hit the button below, and if you press the bell you'll get notified every time I make a new video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you all next time. So I'm going to show you what I did. I'm so sorry. Blue is just being... This is my nightmare kitten, and he wants attention, and so he's making a lot of noise. So I'm going to finish this quickly whilst I'm still holding him, because he just wants attention. So yes, the flowers that you see in today's video, I'm completely covered in cat fur. I give them a swish, I give them a swish, whilst they start to grow roots. So I should say that my Ranunculus Corms only took a wee. Say goodbye. Bye.